So now I would like to introduce you to our next presenter, Mr. Jarrod Best Mitchell. He's a sales trainer, entrepreneur, and LinkedIn expert. Now, I've been following Jarrod for a while. And he is just an amazing human being and such a repository of information. So we are just so honored to have him here with us this afternoon. Now, it's three things about Jarrod. First, he possesses this in-depth knowledge and experience about using modern sales techniques and strategies to improve performance and sales. Secondly, on LinkedIn, his content receives over 100,000 organic views monthly. Heard what I said? Organic. And he's regarded as one of the top content creators in the Caribbean. And thirdly, you will never see Jarrod in anything else other than yellow. He has this obsession with the color that began when he was 5, and you see it consistently every single time he appears. But his goal is to train 10,000 sales professionals in the Caribbean on modern sales technique that could help you achieve your quota consistently. So let's light up the charts and welcome Jarrod. Give him a warm welcome to take us into the next stage, which is elevating your sales pitch. Jarrod, over to you.
Good morning. No, afternoon. Woo!
Yeah, afternoon.
I got so caught up. And thank you to, I think it was Richard Sheldon who said it. Yes. So I love the fact, like, LinkedIn is my main platform, folks. So here's the first thing. I know we're talking about elevating our sales pitch. So I want to get right into it, right? I know we speak about sales and everything, but I do a lot of my sales straight into LinkedIn. And all I understand is, and this is the first thing I'll tell you in terms of elevating your sales pitch. If you get asked one question, 100 people need the answer. A lot of my understanding of sales is, yes, we're going to talk about what you say and how you say it, but a lot of it is making sure you could get your message out to the masses so you can bring people in. So I have a lot of fun on LinkedIn. It definitely is my main platform. So I love the fact that you see the content all the time. The only thing I would ask persons to tell me is it valuable? That's the only thing I want to. I don't want to be on your feed if it's not valuable. So if it is, you've made my day. All right. So I'm going to continue on the energy level. So I hope you guys have your seatbelts buckling because we're going to keep the adrenaline flowing. I don't want you all losing the momentum, especially on a Saturday. But we have to talk about the most important part, because here's the honest thing. Even if you build a business, right, not everybody's going to come to buy. We actually have to go out there and start selling, which is one of the best professions in the world. So before I get into it, let me ask anybody who has their business or who's starting their business, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to sales? When it comes to the biggest challenge in terms of selling your products and services? Let me know quickly in the chat. Right? Let me know, because I know a couple of persons have things. Closing, getting the attention of the ideal client, leads, outreach. So I'm taking notes here. Reaching out to people. Oh, I love the fact. So the workbook is going to help you all a lot. Marketing myself, customers. Ooh, reaching target audience, converting leads to sales. I like that as well. Ideal market. Yes, Jarrod, we're going to talk about that. The workbook that we have for you all is definitely going to give you the exact tool. Pricing. Ooh, prospecting. Oh, y'all are making my day. Right, customer acquisition, sustainable sales, marketing online. Ooh, all right. I love it. All right, let's get into some of those things. Ooh, getting people to pay. All right, Damien, first of all, if you want to get people to pay, they need to pay upfront, else it's just not like immediately. All right, so let's go into a couple of things, right? Let's get into a couple of things. I want to go into the first thing, which I think is the most important. The biggest challenge I see where people aren't elevating their sales pitch and in terms of how they get to customers is that, first of all, you're not targeting the right customers. So the question I'll ask everybody is, do you know who you sell to? Like, do you understand your audience? Do you know who your audience is? Because the thing is, unless you're selling doubles or ice cream, your audience is not everyone. And even in those cases, not everybody buys doubles or ice cream. So the most important thing you have to ask yourself is, number one, do I know who my audience is for this product and service? Even if it's something brand new, there's probably another competitor out there in the market. That I think is the other major part. You can look at who they're selling to. And if it is that I know who this audience is, am I creating the right message going out to them? Like that is the number one thing I see people falling apart with when you look at the start of the sales process. You are not targeting the right people. And it goes into when you price your products and everything. So I'll give you a perfect example. I had a friend who was in the business of, they used to provide defensive driving, right? The defensive driving used to get plenty of objections from customers initially. And when I started digging on into it, I realized that they were targeting the wrong person, because here's why. Their defensive driving course wasn't a typical defensive driving course. It was one targeted to high income people, people who had risk, rich people, the Sawatis, right? But she was just targeting regular folks. A regular person like me and you, like, we're not at risk of getting kidnapped, so we don't find nice value in it. It's expensive. But somebody who is, they'll see like that is incredibly affordable, and they'll buy 5 or 6 for all of their family. So you have to ask yourself, am I targeting the right persons? Because the number one factor I could tell you is that if you aren't targeting the right people, you're going to see 2 things happening. Number one, you're going to get a lot of people telling you no. And then number 2, you are going to get a lot of people raising objections, as in number 1, your price is too high, or they're having other issues in terms of paying you for your product or service. So I love the fact of all the things that people mentioned there, right? Because you have to understand who your ideal audience is. So here's the first tip I'm going to give everybody in terms of elevating the sales service. And it's one of the hardest things to do, but it's the most beneficial. What I want you to do is, if you know 5 to 10 people who are ideal for buying your product or service, I want you to sit down and interview them. I want you to sit down and ask them, why do you buy products like this? What are your triggers for buying? What is usually the price range that you normally pay for these items? Ask them every single question under the sun. How often do they buy? What normally do they buy alongside these types of items? And then you're going to take that information and sell to the next other group of people. You're not going to sell to those 10. Those 10 are essentially your what do you call it? Your testing ground. And then you go on to the other persons and you start selling to them. Because now you have the context for those 10 people, so that now you could reach out to the individuals with the right value message. Now you can understand the buyer. Because I can tell you the next problem for some people with their businesses. A lot of y'all go into a hard pitch. So immediately as you realize somebody has a pulse, you're going in to start selling them. Anybody does that? Let me know in the chat. From the minute somebody comes up to you, do you start selling? And let me know also, because I didn't get a chance to check it out, let me know the type of businesses that some of you all have for the ones who have their business, or what's the type of business you want to start. I'm just saying I write safety articles on Facebook and LinkedIn and get people contacting me. How do I know how genuine these people are? I would honestly tell you, and that's an excellent question, if it is that you are getting attention from those persons, listen to the questions that they're asking you. So you have to go into almost a qualification mode. So even though they're reading the articles, you still need to qualify them to actually understand if it is that they know what's the benefits of your product or service. So as I'm seeing the things here, I'm seeing all the things coming in. Digital advertising, noise reduction, real estate, all these other things. Let me ask you all this, because this is the most important part in terms of the messaging and in terms of how we elevate our sales pitch. When you understand who your audience is, when you understand what's the desired outcome, that's the language you need to speak in. You don't need to talk to them at the start, like, hey, good morning, how are you? If you understand who these buyers are, you need to start speaking of them in the outcome that they want to achieve. That is literally it. It's always the outcome. And I'll give you examples. You're into branding and graphic design. You have to ask yourself, why do people want these services? And then what you have to talk about is the outcome. So what I would say is, and by the way, for all these people who are doing services, I'll stress you one thing. The service that you're offering is time. You're not offering your product or service. You're offering time. So what you're supposed to be asking persons is, hey, Brandon, is it Brandon? Let me just check it here. No, Orion. Hey, Orion, I noticed that your company is doing some graphics and stuff. Quick question, do you do that in-house? And also, if you do it in-house, how much time do you spend on it? And if you're spending all that time on it, is that something that you see as being beneficial as your core ability in the business? Or is it with regards to the outcome that you're creating? Because let's just say I'm speaking to Orion, and Orion is in essence, he has a food place. Orion is a chef. He doesn't like doing the branding and the graphic design. He doesn't like creating the images, but that's my skill set. So what I'm selling Orion is time. So what I would offer him is say, hey, Orion, I'm reaching out to businesses who are doing their graphics in-house, but don't like it because it's not allowing them enough time to dedicate to the core aspects of their business. Are you someone who's doing it in-house, and do you see a need for outsourcing it? Because if you do, you're able to spend more time in the core aspects of your service. This is how we elevate our sales pitch. If I understand the problems that customers are having, if I understand the types of customers who typically buy my services, I can reach out to you with a specific value message that lets the person know I understand what you're going through. And I'm just asking you a question to figure out, do you see this as a problem big enough where you want solved? And this allows me to elevate myself to a good level where it's not like I'm coming across pitching. It's me giving you the value. It's always about giving you the value. And then I'll even give you another twist around. I would even approach persons, especially if you know who your ideal audience is, I would approach persons in 2 levels and say, hey, I help small business owners who have to create social media for their business, but they are C-grade in social media for their business and would want the opportunity to outsource it once it's affordable, increases the output, and saves them time. Mr. Orion, is that something you have as a priority for yourself this year in 2024? It's not about just saying, hey, I offer branding and graphic design services. Is that something you're interested in? Bro, everybody does. Everybody offers it. You're not differentiating yourself when you do that. You're not elevating your sales pitch when you come with the generic outcome of what it is that your services does. What you have to speak to is what the customer wants to achieve for their outcome. You always have to speak to the outcome. And I'll go it both ways, right? So let's look at it in a couple of ways, because I'm looking at all the different types of businesses persons have. I want to give you all as many examples so you can understand. So I want you all to understand a couple of things. Even if you understand who your ideal clients are, you have to cater to the aspect of, do my customers come to me or do I go to them? Because this is what helps us in terms of our messaging. And again, if you see what I've done online, a lot of it is based on content. So remember those 10 people I said to interview? You're taking notes of those questions, and I want you to answer all those questions in content. And then I want you to engage with people who are liking those posts on the social media platforms. Because a lot of you are creating content, a lot of you have likes, and a lot of you aren't engaging with those persons who have likes, who have liked your post, right? But once it is that you understand who's inbound and outbound, I'll give you an example. When somebody's coming into me for my business, I don't just want to sell them what they're asking for. I also want to make sure and qualify and clarify that I understand what it is that they're coming to me for. Because even though I put out a boatload of content, a lot of people still misunderstand what it is that the outcome the product creates. So even though somebody's coming to you saying, hey, I want to get your branding and graphic design services, I need you to still clarify. Because what you should be doing is asking them, hey, I love the fact that they came to me. Let me know exactly what type of outcome you want to achieve. And just pause, just like I did there. Let the customer tell you exactly what's the outcome, because you want 2 things from this. You want to make sure that they're on the right boat as you. And number 2, you want to make sure that they understand the right type of service, because there's probably an opportunity where you could upsell them additional items because they aren't aware of it. And there's also opportunity where they're probably thinking of the wrong thing, and you could offer them something lower, which builds your trust and also shows you as an expert and somebody who's honest in the actual sales process. This is how I elevate my sales game, folks. I don't know, and you can tell me in the chat. I'm not sure what you was expecting in terms of like some pitches and guidelines, but that's the old school method of selling. It honestly is. The new school way, the way that buyers want to buy, is that the message has to be relevant and it has to sound like you are speaking to me. It has to sound like you understand the exact problem I have at this point in time that I have an interest in solving. It's not about pitching. The more you pitch, the thing is you're going to get resistance from the customer in some cases. You have to learn to understand that the message you give them shouldn't be that, hey, I sell sportswear online. It's not about that. Even if you sell the sportswear online, there's lots of ways that you can actually sell. And Mahesh, it's not about the value proposition to your clients, because your company has the value proposition. I think it's like putting yourself in a client's shoes and answering the questions that they have. Because the thing is, we have our sales process, correct, folks? Like for everybody who has their business, you understand that there's a process for everything, even as simple as buying doubles. There's a process for everything. I am interested in buying sportswear. I'm going to search for sportswear. I'm going to compare a couple of prices. I'm going to understand the convenience. I'm going to also start looking at the quality. Then I'm going to start deciding what are my top priorities in purchasing: price, quality, or time. As in, can I get it now? Do I have to ship it in? And then you have to be able to sell all those aspects and speak to the customer's mind. Because the thing is, as much as we have our sales process, we need to understand the buyer process. We don't pay ourselves. We elevate our sales game by making sure that we understand what the customer wants to achieve. That is absolutely it. So if you want to elevate your sales pitch, and let me ask this, just drop out any emoji for me. I'll say the fire emoji. Just tell me, how many of you already have your Instagram and your online pages? Let me just ask in the social media aspect. Tell me quickly. Mark in the building. Nice. Good. Lovely. Do me a next favor then, right? How many of y'all have people liking your content? Good. Even on TikTok, how many of y'all have started conversations with the persons who are liking your content? So if somebody likes your content, and by the way, here's the thing where elevate your sales pitch. Even though somebody likes your content, yes, it's a direct indicator of interest, but at the same time, you need to qualify it. So I'll go to my boy Mark from Top Dog. They do dog training. Even if I like one of his posts about the dog training, I'm not gonna say, hey Jarrod, I saw you like my post about dog training. Do you want me to train your dog? Nope, 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 nope. We aren't doing that. Even if somebody likes my post, I want to determine the interest and I want to determine if it's relevant to them. That is the absolute first thing I want to do. I want to determine its relevance in terms of the content. So if I post something, I'm going to say, hey, hey Jarrod, I saw you like my post about training your dogs in this particular aspect. Is that something you have trouble with your current dog, your animal? And then they can say, hey, tell me, by the way, what breed of dog you have. I want to start a conversation. I don't want to pitch the person, because from the time I pitch, guess what? That person is going to start putting up a barrier of defensiveness. People don't want to be sold to. So you have to make sure and understand, when I have this message, I want to take care of this opportunity. I want to make sure and nurture this opportunity. So for everybody, if you have people who've liked your post on social media, if you have people who have followed you on social media, I want you to start a conversation. I want you to start engaging with those individuals, because that's how you're going to build your sales. That's part of how you elevate your sales pitch. So for everybody who have tons of likes on their profile right now, and people who have been following them, you have to start the conversation. Because I'll put it to you in the real world. A person following your like in your post is they coming up directly to your face and saying, that was awesome, thank you. And you just stayed silent. So when somebody likes your content, draw relevancy. When somebody follows your page or any of your content for the first time, I want you to do this one thing for me. Create a pre-recorded video that says, hey Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to follow my page. As you see, I talk about this. Every day or every other day, I post content sharing stuff about either the food I have or all the sports equipment that we have in our store or different things on dog training. If any of this is relevant for you, the content is going to educate you. However, if you want a little one-on-one conversation, I'm open to that. Send me a DM and we can set up a time so I can probably explain anything specific to your situation. So, oh, by the way, you guys have to tell me on the time, because I'm not sure how time working. I don't know, somebody could have sent me from the team and tell me, right? Because, all right, so let me talk about this, right? Somebody says I need to learn sales process segmentation, how to price when someone is on the phone. Number one, you should be assured of what your price is in terms of the services that you offer. And then, as I always like to tell people, and this is where people disagree with what I say, I'll tell you my overall theory on price. And this is especially if you're offering a service. specifically a service. If you are offering a service, let's just say you're washing cars, and a lot of people are saying yes to your price. Like you're not any hesitation in your tone. As a matter of fact, you're hearing skepticism in their tone. So in other words, I tell Rion, hey Rion, it costs $600 to do a full detailing on the car. Oh, 600? All right, not bad. Your price is too low. I'm telling you upfront, your price is too low. Anytime people are agreeing to your price too quickly, your price is too low. Right? That's the first thing in terms of pricing. Right? The other thing I'll tell you when you look at what pricing is that I should always tell people to introduce price early to the process if you're having a conversation on the phone with somebody, because what you want to do is either disqualify or qualify them quick. Because think about it, are you going to spend a half hour with someone on the phone when it is at the end they're not interested because the price is too high? So I would actually leave it and say, hey Rion, the price of this item is $3,000. Let me know if that fits within your budget. I would love to walk you through the process of why customers are purchasing this item at a frequent rate from me. But the sales process, and Tobogo, I don't know how the raise hand things is work. You'll need to let me know, Bobby, right? But here's what I'll tell you, Rion, in terms of your sales process. You have to look at two aspects. They flow into the same way, but you have to understand the differences. If people are coming to me, I have to realize, especially when there's no prompting, like unless it's like a social media ad, I have to understand that there's a level of interest. So you have to immediately gauge the client where it is that they are at. So the first thing I'll ask you is, if somebody comes to you for your services, I would honestly ask them, tell me what you know already so far, so I don't have to repeat stuff, and we can begin from there. So in other words, I'm meeting the client where they are at based on their knowledge. Then what I go through now is showcasing value. Then what I want to do is lead them to an actual product or item based on what they understand. And then I want to ask them for the business and close. Right? And by the way, we need to be comfortable with customers telling us no. Not everybody tells us yes. Right? We need to make sure everybody reaches to a decision point. If it is that you're doing outbound now, outbound is a little different. Outbound is you reaching out now saying, hi Rion, I'm reaching out to you because I offer these types of services. I know I'm really good at it because I've worked with people in your industry. I wanted to have a conversation about you if you're interested. That's the first part. You call that your lead generation. That's your prospecting for everybody who's not doing your prospecting. Then I do my discovery, which is I don't want to be talking a lot. I want to ask as many questions to get information from the customer to understand that their expectations matches with what my product does. Top priority. Then when we come to that understanding, if you've done a really good job, the customer will understand that you're the only person that could actually help them achieve the desired outcome that they want. And once you do that, it's important that you ask for the business. And it could be literal as the saying, hey Rion, are you ready to start this? Hey Rion, it looks like you're comfortable in purchasing the product. Ask for the same. Right? So let me wrap up. I'm seeing Raj, the boss here, saying it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Mikhail. I watch a lot of Crystal stuff. I have his book right here in the corner as well, along with Gary Vee. Those guys do some really good things. But as I say, what I'll tell people is that if you're looking at elevating your sales pitch, you need to stop pitching. What you have to do is start spending more time understanding your customers. What you have to start doing is spending more time engaging with your customers and asking them questions, because we need to find out what level of interest they have in purchasing the type of product or service that we offer. The more you have conversations, the better you build value, and the less you actually have to spend time negotiating on price. That is literally it. Let me know if you have any last minute pointers. So any last minute questions, sorry. So if you have to ask any questions, feel free to answer it as we wrap up. But that's it in terms of me. I'm having trouble capturing the right target audience for real estate. I love that. Let me do this quickly. Raj, you'll tell me if I'm good on time. Here's the problem I think people have with real estate. Real estate, and I spoke about this yesterday with somebody. Real estate and purchasing a home is an incredibly difficult market. So if it is buying the home aspect, you need to make sure that you're catering your audience to explain that entire process to customers, because what you want to do is create a filter for the people who are qualified to come to you. It shouldn't be everybody accessing you and calling you on your phone if it's real estate. No, no, no. If you have a platform, if you run on social media, people need to fill out a form first, then they get access to you. If they're not filling out a form, they're not getting your time. If they haven't gotten pre-qualified from the bank, they're not getting their time. Set them up to talk to the bank to be pre-qualified first, then they come to you. Because I could want a $10 million house. I could only afford $100,000. That's wasting your time. Get them qualified first. First. And then make sure your content explains that actual process. Right? That is the key thing that you actually want to do. And once you get that done through all of your content, now it works out quickly. Right? My name is, as you see on the screen, Jarrod. If you search Best Mitchell, BEST-Mitchell, you'll find me on LinkedIn. You'll find my website, which Karen Rose built as well. So we're good to go. Let me just see. Somebody else had one other quick question. I saw it. If you want to develop resilience to customer rejection, I'll put it to you this way. If you know the objections that customers are going to tell you, you need to bring it up first in the conversation. Therefore, they have less power. It's a technique called response block selling by a guy called Victor Antonio. That is literally the technique. If you know the objection, you bring it up. If price is the objection, bring up price first. It allows you to end the conversation quickly or close the sale quickly. So bring up the objections before the customer does, because if I say a problem before you say the problem I'm thinking of, I have all the power. I control the conversation. You say it before me, you have control of the conversation, and you can guide it along the point of getting to a decision. Good? Raj, you're good on time? Yep.
Yeah, you're perfect on time, Jarrod. You're perfect on time.
Nice.
Yeah, and I don't think I ever saw you in anything other than yellow. It was nice to see the little infusion of some red and some white, man. Nice.
Oh, no, you know why? Okay, can't see the pants is all yellow. The cuts and everything is yellow. You didn't see the whole kit. The whole, like, it's to compensate. The rest of it is yellow. Like,
Yeah.
solid yellow.
Wonderful. Well, I am just blown away by the information shared today, you know, and I think what are the three takeaways for me is, one, you're not selling a service alone. You're selling so many other things. You're selling yourself first and foremost, right? And that service, it translates into an emotional, untangible thing. You're not selling a home. You're selling peace of mind. You're not selling a graphic design company. You're selling a look and feel, a whole brand and position.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's about rethinking and retooling how you see your service into something far more than it was in the beginning, you know?
Yes.
And it's wonderful how we structure today, because once you build this digital presence, it redounds to nothing unless you could take it somewhere else. So you see the sequence, yeah? You build a digital presence, now you're taking that next, right? And I know that we could always reach out to get more information. Thanks so much, Jarrod. Thanks so much.
Can I just share one other point, which I think is the most important thing? I think I mentioned it at the start. The number one way where you need to sell now is not necessarily a skill set. Rand Sirhan was talking about this. It's about getting the attention. Like everybody here, I'm sure, knows who D&D Auto World is, or Bobby's Car Auto, because they put out a ton of content. Y'all are underestimating how much information your buyer needs in order to make a buying decision. You could create content and spend less time with people in the sales cycle. Everybody who I work with come to me at the buying stage. Not the comparison, not price consideration, nothing. They come to me to buy because all the content I've put out has helped them understand that. For the year so far, I've done 250 pieces of content, and I don't repurpose. That's 250 original pieces of content, just to make sure I could sell 24/7 without having to sell, and just bring people to the end stage of my sales pipeline versus talking to them at the top.
Wonderful, Jarrod. Thanks so much for enlightening us on this stage, you know, of how to craft the winning sales pitch, and for showing us how to take things into a 21st century perspective. What pertained before when our parents were selling is not what pertains now. I'm sure participants have the know-how of how to create the ideal client profile from the information you've shared, and what they will continue to get from continuously researching and honing their skills. Thanks a mil, Jarrod. Around of applause, everyone, for Jarrod.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Pat. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon, everybody.
Thanks so much.